to start with here.
It's a good start.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to...
Welcome to the Hubtown podcast.
This is going to be our first attempt at putting something together for members or people that want to sort of view material, and that allows the three of us to kind of batter back and forth some ideas about how we do things at the gym or any questions that people have. So the number one question that Hubtowners had was more or less based on programming, how we program or why things look the way they do. Many follow-up questions sort of settled in from that, which was things like how do we manage your intensity and all that sort of stuff. So we're just going to start from the very baseline, and then we can just see where the conversation goes. We hope to do a lot of these, so just like stay with us as we work through both our technical issues and my ramblings. Amanda and Thea will act as the scientific advisors for this, and I'm just here to look good. All right, this is a good start. Cue the graphic, and we're going. That is on. Okay. Yep, we're ready to rock. Okay, cool.
So, at its most basic, how does CrossFit and their methodology program workouts?
Great question. I feel like you guys were working on that on break. So it's actually pretty basic. Like a lot of people kind of think it's rocket science. Maybe it is, but once it sort of filters its way down to us, it's really broken down in ways that it's really manageable to do. You have three essential modalities that you want to hit, which is gymnastics, weightlifting, and cardiovascular. So those would look like, for gymnastics, air squats, pull-ups, push-ups, all that sort of shit. Weightlifting is clean and jerk, snatch, deadlift, anything that involves weights or dumbbells. And then cardiovascular, running, swimming, skipping,
rowing.
Yeah. And then you want to put those together in ways that look in either different time spans or different segments, whether it's like monostructural, so you're doing one thing, or you're doing a couplet, so you're doing a weightlifting and a gymnastic, or a triplet where you're doing all three. So that's the baseline of the things that you want to be hitting. Is that fair? Amanda wants to interject. Please do.
I just think that it's important that I think a lot of times people view CrossFit as sort of this like new thing that that was created in the fitness world. And the truth of the matter is that it's just been organized in a way that is effective. So in CrossFit workouts, we don't do anything that you wouldn't see in other fitness philosophies. It's just applied slightly differently or organized a little bit differently to make sure that we're getting that intensity factor.
You just want to make sure you have equal impact of all of those different types of modalities. So you want to make sure if you had to break it down in like 33% increments, you essentially want to make sure people are getting equal amounts of cardio versus weightlifting versus gymnastics. And what happens when Amanda and I put programming together is just make sure that all of those things are getting touched on.
I know we come up with some of our workouts, but where do you guys also look other than CrossFit HQ? Obviously, they program a lot of stuff.
Yes.
For workouts to kind of get a gauge of where the sport is at.
Yeah. So we have three major sources. You jump in whenever you want.
No, go ahead. Crushing it.
We have three main sources that we use for inspiration. Some workouts are definitely created by ourselves. Usually Chris is the first one to take credit for his workouts.
Correct.
But we definitely try to follow CrossFit.com, main site workouts, because they're always going to be showing what the theme is, don't want to say it like that. CrossFit.com is always going to be leading the direction that CrossFit is going. So, for instance, a couple years ago, you saw a huge increase in strict work. We saw a huge increase in handstand work or being upside down. All of a sudden, the next year, handstand walks were in the open.
Dumbbell stuff too.
Dumbbell stuff was huge, right? Exactly, yeah. So they like to definitely, you have to be paying attention to what they're doing because they're giving clues for where the sport of CrossFit is going to go.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that queuing onto CrossFit.com has saved our ass probably in 2 consecutive years. The first year was we started to recognize a lot of dumbbell stuff. So we ordered a set of dumbbells, and then they opened that year, there were dumbbells. So every gym in the province is looking for the same set of dumbbells. And we were just fortunate to have like kind of cued in that for 2 major reasons. Dumbbells are an incredible asset to any gym because they're multimodal in terms of what you can do with them. So, and they're also going to be part of what we do in CrossFit. And secondly, Amanda noted 3 months ago, man, there's been nothing but strict movements on CrossFit main site. And we started to see it. We started to include it in our program, and she's like, I guarantee you'll see something strict this year in the open. And sure enough, strict handstand push-ups.
We did.
3rd week. So yeah, so it's good to stay on that trend.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And also, I think like main site has always been a good piece of humble pie when it comes to, they definitely don't, because they're not dealing specifically with a clientele, they don't have any restriction whatsoever, so they're putting the hardest stuff possible up there. And it's always good to be trying to find ways to achieve the same stimulus, even if you have to scale it. The next place that we often find inspiration for workouts is CompTrain, which would be Ben Bergeron. And the simple reason for that is just because he is clearly onto something. He's clearly producing top athletes, and a lot of thought and detail goes into how he plans out his program. So it's always good to sort of take tips and tricks from there. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No. I think once we touch on the next one, we kind of break down the differences between the 3 because they're relevant. Yeah. And
then the next one would my personal favorite would be CrossFit Linchpin, which is programming by Pat Sherwood, and his slogan for CrossFit Linchpin is, Linchpin is brutally elegant programming, and that's, I think, really important to us. That's sort of something that we're all about. Like, just, it doesn't really matter what you have or where you're doing it, or you can always find a way to do fitness. And those workouts are also what Chris and I sort of align with, classic CrossFit. So there's nothing overly complicated or fancy or anything like that. It's just work. That's, I think we try to draw a line between those 3. So you've got CrossFit main site because it's on the cutting edge of what they see as relevant. Ben Bergeron, because that's the competitive end. Like, this is how, once you get an athlete to a certain point, this is kind of your next level threshold in terms of how you want to work things. And Pat Sherwood is just plain Jane, this shit's hard and you're going to work hard, and it's not hard to do. And I think what a lot of people think when they think CrossFit programming is because every day looks so sophisticated in terms of movements and rep schemes and time domains and all that sort of stuff, that it's hard. It takes thought, but it doesn't need to be complicated. People really get caught up, I feel like, with focusing a lot, like the more complicated my program, the better the program is. And that's a huge misnomer. Like, that's just not accurate. Well, do couplet, like we put the quote up a long time ago, do couplets and triplets hard, and you're gonna get better at CrossFit. I think too, like, the first rule of any strength and conditioning program is that a program is better than no program. So consistency in your training is really important. So, I mean, we could put the most scientific evidence-based program together, and if somebody's only coming once or twice a week, they're not going to see the results, right? So that's, again, why it's so important. We recommend attending 3 to 5 classes a week to make sure that you're getting the most out of the program that we put together. Right. Yeah. And making sure that you're getting as well-rounded as possible.
When we're programming, because we constantly want to be challenging people, pushing that level of fitness, how do you guys determine what our RX standards are going to be, and like how many people we want to see RXing workouts?
Yeah, that's an awesome question.
Awesome question.
As far as what's dictated for the gym, I think that if we feel that there's one athlete that would be able to complete the workout as RX and maintain the stimulus that we gather from the workout, that means that workout is appropriate for our gym. There's definitely some workouts that will be a little bit of a stretch, but again, it's all about testing the waters and challenging our athletes to push themselves. For instance, I can, like, just reflecting on years past, I know that when we first opened up and we only had a handful of athletes that could potentially do ring muscle ups, to see them in a workout was like, people would say, well, I'm not even going to go to the gym today because I can't do ring muscle ups. Now everybody in the gym knows exactly what scale they're going to do for ring muscle ups. So unless they see it and unless they're exposed to the idea of potentially I could do that movement or lift that weight or go that fast, then they're not going to entertain that idea themselves.
And I do think it's fun too when we've posted some really hard HQ workouts and we're like, this is the level like HQ expects people to be at, and they're like,
mind blown.
You want me to do what? Like, that's so far out of where I thought I was.
Right. Or needed to be.
Yeah.
Right? For somebody that's thinking that they're continuing. I think, like, it's so easy to, when you first start doing CrossFit style training, when you first join an affiliate, I think it's really easy to go through that honeymoon phase and, like, you're always trying new things, you're doing new movements, and then once you sort of have a better skill set, a more broad skill set, it's really easy to be like, I have all those movements. Like, I can do anything that they throw up. So then it's awesome to see a workout on the board where it's like, oh, I can't do a single one of those things as it's written up there.
Right.
And that always is good for people to check their mindset and be continually working towards a higher movement standard or better, body control or improved strength.
The consideration that we make the most is never about new movements and challenging people. It's where we approach weight setting in the workout. So, so occasionally you'll see, if we're drawing from main site, you can see a 415-pound deadlift or something ridiculous. So in our mind, we need to cue, okay, should we ever have anybody in our gym, one person that's deadlifting 415 pounds for reps in a workout? That's a lot. Like, where do we move that scale so that your top athlete, or I don't want to say it like that, your strongest deadlifter is able to execute that safely, and then everybody else can recognize, okay, well, that's the threshold, and where do I fall underneath that?
Do you have questions? They look at a workout, they're like, what on earth am I aiming for here? Like, am I supposed to go fast? Is this supposed to be heavy? Should these be slow? Like, what is my kind of focus, and what do I want to get out of this workout?
Totally. I just want to caveat this conversation with the fact that I appreciate this question, and I'm catastrophically bad at it. Is that fair?
That is fair.
Okay.
That is fair.
So just listen to what I'm
how
saying.
How do you feel about that one? No, just
listen to what we're saying and appreciate that what we're saying is right, and what I do is wrong. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that, like, first of all, so there's the, like, step one of the programming, which is where we decide the workouts for the upcoming time period. But then there's also coaches notes, which is like a write-up of each workout that goes out to all of the coaching staff for each day of the week to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So it's at that time that the stimulus is really sort of broken down and clarified for our coaches. So the first thing I'd like to say in this conversation is that the coaches always have the clearest picture of what that workout needs to look like. So if you're ever in question of what that workout should feel like to you or how you should approach it, definitely chat with the coach beforehand. There's lots of things that come into play when you're looking at, like, how is this workout going to feel? And to be honest with you, I think a lot of it just comes from time in doing workouts like this. Experience in actually working out, experience in doing CrossFit style workouts. awareness of your own body, your own thresholds. That stuff all comes into play for sure. And then we start to look at like, what's the rep scheme of the workout? What's the time frame that we're looking to get this done? What's the weight that's being used? For instance, a workout that we tell you has a 15-minute time cap that's a 21:15.9. You know that that should be an all-out sprint effort.
And we
Right.
don't want to approach that workout as I want to meet the time cap. Like, we want you to
Be under.
modify that workout so you are done. It's not 15
Correct.
minutes to just work.
Right.
It is, we want you to be finished.
Yep.
So like,
It's another
15-minute
great point
mark.
too, is that when we create time caps, unless we specifically say at the beginning of the workout, you know what, you got 15 minutes, or sorry, you got 20 minutes to get through this. We know that some people aren't going to get through it in 20 minutes. If we don't specify that, you can assume
We want
that
the work.
we're expecting you to get through the workout in 20 minutes. It's not like, okay, I've got 20 minutes and then I only have to work as hard as I need to for 20 minutes, right? It's about like, how am I going to approach this workout in order to get done by 20 minutes?
right. So like, if I could interject, like let's take Fran as an
Yeah.
example, because it's an easy one. Our gym time cap is almost always 15 minutes. 21:59 thrusters and pull-ups, Fran, is a 5 minutes or less workout. Like, that is what the design of the workout is. What our time cap is indicate, like, if you ever have any questions about what the intensity of Fran should be, it should be very bad. Like, that is just the intensity of that workout. So if you're not hitting that threshold, the 15-minute time cap for our gym is a couple of things. Brand new athletes that are new to movements and just like trying to get the foundations of a pull-up, or sorry, of what is likely a ring row and a light thruster. So they've never experienced Fran before. That's what that 15-minute time cap is. Or on occasion, there are athletes that have developed a pull-up, but they're still new at it and can handle the weight and want to see where they stack up in Fran and RX. That's what that's for. For the majority of people in Fran, you should be scaling so that it's a hard 3 to 5 minutes of work. That means banded pull-ups or jumping pull-ups and light thrusters. You get way more out of Fran in doing it in 3.5 minutes. I promise you, if you've ever done Fran in under 5 minutes, you will never forget the day that you did Fran in under 5 minutes.
I think a lot of times people come into the workouts and maybe they ask about what the intensity level should be, or they want to know the stimulus, but they don't recognize that that itself is a skill that you need to train. So there's definitely, like we said, we are going to scale the workout to make sure that everybody is achieving the correct stimulus for them at that particular time in their journey. Intensity is something that needs to be trained and conditioned the same way that strength does, the same way that gymnastics does, the same way that your cardiovascular strength doesn't.
I guess kind of like what we have wrapped up from all of that is it's never the athlete's job to figure out the point of a workout. Like, we never expect you to come in and know that. Your coach will always tell you. You just have to be okay with scaling and modifying appropriately and not being concerned about what other people are also, how they're scaling and modifying. Because we know every athlete and we know what they need to do to get out of a workout. And so don't be like, well, they're doing singles, so I can do singles, where we're like challenging you to do bigger sets. There's a reason behind everything that most people are doing.
We sort of hit the CrossFit programming. We can't, like, there's only so much we can say about it. It's sort of it's a big topic. So like,
Better yet, if you have questions,
yeah,
let us know.
yeah, exactly. If there are questions, just right under it, like, hey, this was great, but can you break this down more? And we would happily do so, just because programming is such a huge thing.
And we
tried
can
to
geek out about it for
yeah,
so long.
and we tried to simplify it, but it realistically is a bit of a creative process that looks a lot like a lot of just open dialogue between the programmers about what we want our athletes to be addressing, what we feel like isn't being hit a lot, and then we just kind of open up the program to fit that. Otherwise, we'll leave it there. Is that
Just
cool?
so many things to keep
I know.
So
talking
much to
about.
talk about,
Keep
so,
asking questions.
okay, guys. Thank you.